Buy my bike, sir. Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days. The bikers learned who took everything from her. The late afternoon sun bled orange over the cracked asphalt of Elm Street, casting long shadows that seemed to swallow the weary neighborhood whole. Dust motes danced in the fading light as a low rumble grew, the deep-throated growl of Harley-Davidsons. The Iron Reapers MC, known more for their leather vests and stern faces than their charity, rolled into the quiet street, a temporary detour on their way back from a run. Then a small figure darted out from behind a sagging porch. A little girl, no older than 6, with wide, desperate eyes the color of storm clouds and tangled brown hair escaping a faded ribbon. She clutched the handlebars of a tiny, slightly rusty pink bicycle like it was a life raft. Her thin frame trembled as she stepped directly into the path of the lead bike, forcing the burly rider, Tank, to brake hard. "Please, sir." Her voice was a thin, reedy thread, barely audible over the idling engines, yet it cut through the air like glass. "Buy my bike. Please, Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days." Tears welled, spilling over onto cheeks smudged with dirt. She held out the bike towards Tank, her small hands shaking. "It's a good bike. Pink, only 6 years old like me. Please, sir, she's so hungry." The Reapers exchanged glances. Their usual world was one of brotherhood, open roads, and hard-won respect, not tearful children selling toys on the street. Tank, a man whose face was a roadmap of scars and whose usual expression was a permanent scowl, felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. He killed his engine, the sudden silence amplifying the girl's ragged breathing. 2 days? Tank's voice, usually a gravelly bark, was surprisingly soft. He dismounted, his massive frame dwarfing the child. He knelt, bringing his eyes level with hers. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Julie," she whispered, sniffling, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Mommy's sick. The man who came, he took everything. Our money, the food stamps, even Daddy's picture." Her voice hitched on the last word. "He said if we told, he'd come back." A cold fury, sharp and immediate, began to simmer beneath the Reaper's usual stoicism. The man. The phrase hung in the air, heavy with implication. This wasn't just poverty. This was predation. "Where's your mommy now, Julie?" asked Razor, another Reaper, his voice gentler than his name suggested. Julie pointed a trembling finger towards a dilapidated house with boarded-up windows and peeling paint. Number 47. "Inside. She's sleeping. She's real tired." Without a word, Tank gently took the pink bike from Julie's small hands. "You keep this, darling," he said, his voice thick. "You need it." He reached into his vest pocket, pulling out a thick wad of cash, more than he usually carried for gas and beer. He peeled off several bills, pressing them into Julie's palm. "Get your mommy some food, good food. Now." Julie stared at the money, disbelief warring with hope in her eyes. "But the bike." "The bike stays with you," Tank insisted, his jaw set. "Now go on. We'll make sure that man doesn't bother you again." As Julie, clutching the money like a talisman, scurried back towards her house, the Reapers didn't rev their engines. They gathered around Tank, their faces grim masks. The usual rough camaraderie was replaced by a focused, dangerous intensity. "Who?" Tank growled, the kindness in his voice for Julie replaced by steel. Razor pulled out his phone. "Let's find out who owns 47 Elm Street and who's been reported for scams or strong-arming in this district." Within minutes, names surfaced. A local slumlord who known for exploiting vulnerable tenants, a small-time enforcer with a record for intimidation, and the name that made Tank's knuckles whiten on his handlebars, Victor Vic Malone, a low-level loan shark with a reputation for squeezing the desperate dry. The Reapers didn't call the cops. They knew how slow the wheels of justice turned,
How easily threats like Vic's could vanish into bureaucracy, leaving Julie and her mother exposed. They had their own code, their own way of ensuring consequences. They found Vic Malone an hour later, holding court in a dimly lit bar on the wrong side of town, bragging about his latest collection. He didn't see the Reapers enter. He didn't notice the sudden hush that fell over the room until Tank's massive shadow fell over his table. Vic sneered, puffing out his chest. "What's this? Lost your way, bikers? This ain't your turf." Tank didn't raise his voice. He leaned down, his face inches from Vic's, his eyes like chips of flint. "Remember the little girl on Elm Street? Julie? The one whose mommy you starved, whose money you stole?" Vic's bravado faltered for a split second, replaced by a flicker of recognition and fear. "Don't know what you're talking about, pal. Mind your own—" Tank's hand shot out, not to strike, but to slam a thick envelope on the table. It landed with a heavy thud. "Everything you took from that house," Tank stated, his voice low and deadly calm, "plus interest. Double. You have 10 minutes to count it out. Right here, right now." Vic paled. He knew the Iron Reapers. He knew their reputation wasn't just for show. The envelope contained every cent he'd stolen, plus more. Money the Reapers had pooled instantly, without hesitation. It was a message. "We see you. We protect our own, even the ones we just met." Trembling, Vic counted out the money, his hands shaking worse than Julie's had. The Reapers stood like silent, immovable statues, their presence a suffocating weight. When the last bill was placed in the envelope Tank held out, Vic tried to speak, to bluster, but Tank cut him off. "Listen close, Vic," Tank said, his voice barely a whisper, yet carrying absolute authority. "If I hear one whisper that you've so much as looked in the direction of Elm Street again, if Julie or her mother feel one moment of fear because of you—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The promise of violence, held in check only by their choice, was terrifyingly clear. "You understand?" Vic nodded frantically, sweat beading on his forehead. Yes, crystal clear." The Reapers left the bar without another word, the envelope of stolen money heavy in Tank's hand. They didn't go back to their clubhouse. They went straight to 47 Elm Street. Julie answered the door, her eyes wide again, but this time with cautious hope. Tank knelt once more. "Julie?" He placed the envelope gently in her small hands. "This is yours, all of it, and more. Get your mommy the best food. See a doctor, whatever you need." He paused, his gruff voice softening impossibly. "And, Julie, you're safe now. That man won't bother you ever again." Later, as the Iron Reapers finally roared away into the night, the streetlights casting long, protective shadows, Julie stood on her porch, clutching the envelope in her pink bike. Inside, the smell of soup, real, nourishing soup, began to fill the small, broken house. The fear that had been a constant companion started to recede, replaced by a fragile, dawning warmth. The Iron Reapers rode on, their leather vests catching the moonlight. They hadn't sought revenge. They had delivered justice wrapped in unexpected kindness. In the desperate plea of a starving child, they hadn't seen weakness, but a call to their deepest humanity. And in choosing compassion over rage, they hadn't just saved a mother and daughter. They'd reminded everyone who witnessed it, including themselves, that even the roughest roads can lead to moments of profound grace. The street remembered, Julie remembered, and the echo of that choice, kindness over rage, resonated long after the last motorcycle's rumble faded into the distance.
If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, share, and subscribe to ACA Storytales for more emotional stories. Your support helps us spread hope to millions. Thanks for watching.